Hello, everyone, and welcome to another weekly Flower Power Plant Wisdom Show. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. Tonight, it's January 11th, and tonight our message is coming from Goldenseal, and Goldenseal has a message of hope and healing. So stick around to hear that at the end of the show. As always, I would greatly appreciate any feedback you have. Please leave a comment below if you have any suggestions or anything else you'd like me to add to the show. So, again, this week I chose a card from the Herbcrafter's Tarot deck, which is this awesome deck with medicinal plants in it. And the message that came up was from, I asked, sometimes I'll just say, man, what's a good card for this week to help people? But this week I just felt like there's just so much still sort of stress and anxiety and fear around COVID and a lot of the other things happening in our world that I asked for a more specific message this week. And that's when Goldenseal came to the rescue. So as always, I like to start first with the actual plant itself. Goldenseal is a small woodland plant, and it grows in sort of old growth types of areas. It's, well, not old growth, but wooded areas, and it is native to the sort of the northeastern United States and into Canada. And it's a small plant that has a green type. Oh, I have some pictures. Someday I'll upgrade all my fancy stuff, but so this is the plant here. And it just is a small plant that grows maybe about, 10 inches off the ground. And it has these small white flowers on it. So the plant also creates, from those flowers, it gets this really awesome, amazing red berry-like seed pod. And it only has about 20 seeds per seed pod. And so it's not a very prolific plant. It's slow growing, and it's also relatively fragile, maybe not fragile, but it takes a lot to get established. And so it is a lovely plant to have in your garden because it likes to grow in the shade. So it's a wonderful plant for your garden, and in the springtime you'll get those nice flowers. So the plant itself is highly desirable medicinally, and it's the root of the plant that is desirable. And so in the early 1900s, it was actually extremely overharvested, and it became quite endangered and almost dug up to extinction. And so luckily people figured it out, and they put it onto this list. I got to look the name of it. It's called Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species. So it has been put on this list to be saved, and it's also on the primary list of this group called United Plant Savers, which is just this incredible group that's started by Rosemary Gladstar. She's sort of the mother of she is the mother of modern herbalism, and that's a great organization that has worked really hard to preserve medicinal plants. So I'll put a link to that in both my blog and also below this video. So, like I said, it was over harvested, and because the root is what people want. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about wild harvesting. A lot of times when we see something, like if we're going into the herb shop and we want to buy, oh, look, it's wild harvested, and we have this vision of something that's been growing in the wild in its natural environment, and it's in this pristine environment, and isn't that great? That must be so much better than a cultivated version. But in this case, and in other cases, like mushrooms and things like that, you have to be really careful about the source of where you're getting your plant material from, your herbal material, because you don't know what that wild crafter, what their code of ethics is. And the code of ethics is if you don't see a huge stand of something, don't harvest. And once you're done harvesting, I shouldn't even be able to tell that you took anything. So because of the endangered status of this species, I highly recommend that you are only purchasing, if you want to plant some in your garden, rhizomes that have been grown by a company or in a garden from somebody else, or that have been, you don't want to buy anything that's been wild harvested just because it is endangered in the wild. So next, I just want to talk a little bit about the medicine of Goldenseal. So Goldenseal is actually one of the first or one of the earlier herbs that I started to work with, because it was well known as being very good for any kind of cold where you have like a really bad mucus type infection. Now, I'm not just talking you got a runny nose. I'm talking like, that like yellow green stuff that is really nasty. Well, that is what Goldenseal is good for, because it has a lot of sort of antibacterial and disinfecting properties. And so it was used by Native Americans, really would make a wash for like cuts, and it can be used as a mouth gargle for any kinds of canker sores or sore throats or things like that. So it has those kinds of properties. And one of the most potent type of constituents in modern day, we measure all the stuff that, herbalists have known for centuries were effective. And I just want to read this. So it has this constituent called berberine that's also in some other plants. And it has antimicrobial, anti-tumor, anti-inflammatory, blood glucose lowering properties. I mean, that's pretty awesome. That pretty much covers everything we need in a plant. So you can see why people wanted it and why it was dug up for so long. So all of those systems in our body can benefit from Goldenseal. One of the things that Goldenseal is known for is that it has a very bitter taste to it. So bitters is a whole group of plants. Gentian is probably the most well-known bitter, and that is used to stimulate your digestion. And I read or heard a video or something where the reason why bitter taste stimulates our digestion is because our body thinks it might be poisonous. And it's like, whoa, what is that? Hurry up and digest that and get it out of here. So this is why bitters are used to help stimulate your digestion and get it going. Goldenseal itself also supports your microbiome. It helps to support the good bugs that we want in there and kind of discourage the bad bugs. So it has a double purpose in our digestive system. And again, one of the things about the anti-inflammatory property is always good for digestion. But one of the things is that you don't really want to use this long term. This is not a nourishing herb like dandelion that we talked about last week. It's not something you would take large doses of for an extended period of time. It's something you would take in an acute situation. So you've got an infection, you've got a cold, that sort of thing. So, and it is very powerful in just micro doses. You do not need a lot of this plant. Because of its endangered status, people have started to look to alternatives to Goldenseal, and such as especially ones that have plants that have this berberine compound in it, and that includes barberry, Oregon grapefruit, although that is somewhat endangered or over harvested as well, and some other sort of woodland and forest plants. I have Goldenseal in my garden, and I've never harvested it, except that my herb teacher, she told me that you can use the leaves. It's not as potent, but it does have some of the similar properties. So I have harvested the leaves and made an alcohol extract from that. So this is the common way to take something like Goldenseal. This is a extract. It's extracted in alcohol. sometimes known as a tincture. And on here it says 100% certified organically grown. And when I see that, I know that this company has sourced from someone who has grown out Goldenseal and is not wild harvesting it. So I feel good about this. This is Herb Farm, which is from Oregon, my home state, and they make a really good quality. So you can see in here, it's just a, you would just take like a couple little drops. I don't know if you can see that golden color or not, but you can see how the color has stained that that dropper there with the color of the extract. So again, just make sure you're buying from a sustainably produced company. Now on to the flower essence, always my favorite part. So the Goldenseal flower essence is for people who need to let go of old beliefs, patterns, stagnant energy. One of Delta Gardens, he says, it cleanses the mental body of subconscious debris. And we could all probably use that. So the thing that is so nice about Goldenseal is once it's helped you kind of clear and release these attachments of things that really are not serving you anymore, it also helps you to develop new habits and strengthen your connections with people who are going to help you be successful. People or entities or whatever you use for your support system, be it a physical person or some sort of something from the angelic or etheric realm. So right now, cutting some cords of these negative energy and the fear that we've all had for 10 months or more is something we could all probably really benefit from. So now I just want to look, I put up this, look at this fancy thing I got. I got this little thing so I can slide my card over. Here is the card. Still a little bit too much of a reflection for my taste, but this is the card from the Herbcrafter's tarot deck. And this is, in the tarot, there's different suits. And so the suits in this particular deck are air, earth, fire, and water. So this Goldenseal is the 5 of water. And the 5s are all plants that are endangered. And what that symbolizes is that is threat or conflict or adversity. And in particular, it's some sort of difficulty with the relationship between humans and nature. And right now we're all really feeling a bit of a difficulty dealing with this little teeny virus that's part of nature that has been affecting us so it had such a huge impact on us. So this card shows a picture of this healthy stand of Goldenseal that's growing in its natural environment out in the woods, and it's protected by a human-built twig fence, but it's still vulnerable. That fence isn't going to really keep anybody out. But the white flowers here signify hope. Here is the message that goes with the card. It says, "Seek out healing waters to ease your pain. A restored heart clears the vision. Golden hope dwells deep underground." And the main message from this card is that grief is a necessary part of healing. So even though you might be lost in sorrow, you may really have had a lot of pain and a lot of loss over this past 10 months. And what this is saying is that you need to feel this fully in order to heal. Goldenseal works very deeply in our systems. It works sort of synergistically with all of our other systems and with other herbs. So just like the Goldenseal, you need to go deep inside to that place where you can let your sadness be complete, like let it exist. And so that is where you're going to find true healing. The root medicine teaches us that healing can be buried very deep. And like Goldenseal, that takes so much time to go from seed to sprout to rhizome to flower. It takes time. It can take time, and you can allow yourself that time. However, the flower signifies hope. And just like Goldenseal only needs a microdose of medicine to start doing the work, you only need a microdose of hope in order to start your healing process. So it's a great time to clear out old patterns or these sort of negative beliefs that are holding you back from the direction you want to go. Goldenseal flower essence would help you with that. And it's time for some healing to begin. So hope and healing, that's our message from Goldenseal tonight. Thank you so much for joining me for another Flower Power weekly plant wisdom. If you are interested in learning more about plants and going deeper with plant medicine and being part of a community, you can join my Flower Power Facebook group. I'm just getting it started. And also, if you want more information and you want to read the show notes, you can go to my blog where I put the notes, and some of these other pictures are in there, and get the full details and the whole list of resources that I used to create this show. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. Have a good week. Bye-bye.